I spent 8 years building my family's restaurant. 8 years of 70-hour weeks, burns on my forearms, grease under my fingernails, and an alarm clock set for 4 a.m. every single morning, including Christmas. I created every recipe, every single one. The braised short ribs that got us our first five-star review, the carbonara that people drove an hour to try, the chocolate lava cake that became our signature dessert, all mine. I trained every cook. I covered every shift when someone called in sick. I stayed until midnight doing inventory while everyone else went home. I never took a salary because my dad said we were building something together and family doesn't nickel and dime each other. And then one Tuesday morning, my older brother walked into the kitchen, handed me an envelope, and told me I was fired. Not laid off, not let go, fired for attitude problems. That same afternoon, I found out his name was on the ownership documents. His name, not mine, not our dad's anymore, just his. The restaurant I built, the one I poured everything into, legally belonged to my brother, and there wasn't a damn thing I could do about it. Except, maybe there was. Let me back up. My name is Daniel. I'm 28 years old, and I've been working in my family's restaurant since I was 20. My dad opened Romano's back in 2008. It was a small Italian place in a strip mall, nothing fancy. Red and white checkered tablecloths, garlic bread and plastic baskets, the kind of place you take your kids on a Tuesday night when you didn't feel like cooking. My dad was a decent cook, nothing special. He made safe, predictable Italian-American food. Spaghetti, lasagna, chicken parmesan. It paid the bills, barely. I started helping out part-time when I was in college, just weekends, washing dishes, prepping vegetables, but I loved it. Not the work itself, but the rhythm of it, the heat, the noise, the controlled chaos of a dinner rush. My older brother, Marcus, he was 32 now, never worked there. He had a corporate job, marketing or sales or something, that involved a lot of golf and expense accounts. He'd show up for family dinners, eat for free, complain about the seasoning, and leave. But Dad always talked about Marcus like he was the golden child. Marcus is doing so well. Marcus got another promotion. Marcus is buying a house. Meanwhile, I was the one keeping the restaurant alive. When I graduated college in 2016, I didn't have a plan. I'd studied business because that's what you do when you don't know what you want. But standing in that kitchen, watching my dad struggle through another slow week, I realized I did know what I wanted. I wanted to make this place something people actually cared about. So I asked my dad if I could take over the kitchen, officially, not just as a helper, but as the chef. He looked at me like I just suggested we start serving sushi. You don't have any training, Danny. I've been working here for 2 years, Dad. I know the menu inside out. Knowing the menu and running a kitchen are different things. Then let me try, just for 1 month. If it doesn't work, I'll go back to washing dishes. He thought about it for a long time. Then he sighed and said, okay, 1 month. That month changed everything. I didn't just tweak the menu. I rebuilt it from scratch. I researched recipes, watched YouTube videos, stayed up until 3 a.m. testing dishes in my apartment. I kept a few of Dad's classics because people expected them, but I elevated them. Better ingredients, better techniques, better presentation. The braised short ribs were my first real creation. I slow cooked them for hours in red wine and herbs until they fell apart at the touch of a fork. The first time I served them, the customer asked to meet the chef. I walked out of the kitchen covered in sweat and sauce, and this woman looked at me and said, "This is the best thing I've ever eaten. Who taught you to cook like this?" "YouTube," I said. She laughed. She thought I was joking. But I wasn't. Everything I knew, I taught myself. And it worked. Within 6 months, we had regular customers. Within a year, we had a wait list on weekends. Within 2 years, we were mentioned in a regional food magazine as a hidden gem. My dad was thrilled. Business tripled. We could finally afford to pay our suppliers on time. We hired more staff. We renovated the dining room, and I was running it all. The menu, the kitchen, the staff schedules, the inventory, the vendor relationships, everything. My dad handled the books in the front of house. I handled everything that actually mattered. I didn't ask for a salary. I didn't ask for a title. I just worked because it was family, because I thought we were building something together. Marcus still didn't show up, not once, but he'd call my dad every few weeks and ask how things were going. Business is great. Danny's doing a great job. Marcus never called me, never asked about the restaurant, never offered to help. But he was always around for the good stuff. When we got our first big review in the paper, Marcus showed up to the celebration dinner we threw, took a bunch of pictures, posted them on Facebook with the caption, "So proud of our family business." Our family business, like he had anything to do with it. I let it go. I was too busy to care about social media clout. In 2020, the pandemic hit, and like every other restaurant, we nearly went under. We shut down indoor dining, switched to takeout only, revenue dropped by 60% overnight. I spent those months working 16-hour days trying to keep us afloat. I created a new takeout menu. I negotiated with vendors to lower costs. I personally delivered orders because we couldn't afford a delivery driver. My dad was terrified we'd lose everything. I told him we wouldn't. We'd make it through. And we did. Barely, but we survived. By 2021, we were back to full capacity. Better than before, actually. We'd built a loyal takeout customer base, and when indoor dining resumed, those people started coming in. That's when things started to change. My dad started talking about retirement. He was in his mid-60s, tired, ready to step back. He said he wanted to pass the restaurant down to me and Marcus. I remember that conversation. We were sitting in the office after close, going through invoices. "You and Marcus can run it together," he said. "You handle the kitchen, he can handle the business side." I looked up from the paperwork. "Marcus never worked here, Dad. He's good with business. You need someone to handle the finances, the marketing, all that. I've been doing that for 5 years. I know, but you're stretched thin. Marcus can take some of the load off." I wanted to argue, but my dad looked so tired and so hopeful, and I thought maybe it wouldn't be so bad. Maybe Marcus would actually help. So I said okay. Big mistake. Marcus came on in early 2022, not as a cook, not as a server, as a business consultant. He showed up twice a week, looked at spreadsheets, made suggestions about pricing and marketing, and then left. He didn't work a single shift in the kitchen, didn't serve a single table, didn't learn a single recipe. But he started making decisions. He wanted to change the menu. Simplify it, he said. Too many options confuse customers. I pushed back. The variety is what makes us special. People come here because they can't get this food anywhere else. But it's inefficient. You're making too many different dishes. It's slowing down the kitchen. "The kitchen is fine, Marcus. I run the kitchen. I know what I'm doing." He's smiling, that condescending smile he always had. "I'm just trying to help, Danny. You're great at cooking, but you don't understand the business side." I bit my tongue, let it go. But it kept happening. Every week he'd suggest something new. Change the decor, raise prices, cut staff hours, fire the weekend dishwasher because we could split the work. Every time I'd argue. Every time he'd smile and say, "Just trust me." And every time my dad would side with him. "Marcus knows what he's doing, Danny. He's got business experience." "I've been running this place for 6 years, Dad." "I know, but you've done great. But let Marcus help." Help. That word started to make me sick. By mid-2022, Marcus was coming in 4 or 5 days a week, not working, just managing, talking to staff, reviewing schedules, sitting in the office during dinner rush while I sweat through another 12-hour shift. And then he started taking credit. It started small. A customer would compliment the food, and Marcus would walk over, shake their hand, and say, "Thanks so much. We're always trying new things." Like he had anything to do with it. Then it got worse. A local food blogger came in, loved the meal, and asked to interview the chef. I walked out, ready to talk, and Marcus intercepted. "I can handle this," he said. "You've got orders to fire." I did have orders, so I went back to the kitchen. And later, I saw the blog post. It quoted Marcus multiple times. "We really focus on fresh local ingredients. Our philosophy is simple but elevated. I've always believed great food doesn't need to be complicated." Our philosophy. I've always believed. Like he'd been there from the beginning. I showed it to my dad. "Dad, Marcus is taking credit for my work." "He's just promoting the restaurant, Danny. That's his job." "No, he's lying. He's making it sound like he's the chef." "He didn't say he was the chef. He's implying it." My dad sighed. "You're being paranoid. Marcus is proud of the restaurant. That's a good thing." I wanted to scream, but I didn't. I just went back to work. By late 2022, my dad officially retired. He signed over ownership of the restaurant. And here's the thing I didn't know until it was too late. He didn't sign it over to both of us. He signed it to Marcus. Just Marcus. I found out by accident. I was in the office looking for a supplier invoice when I saw the ownership transfer documents on the desk. I picked them up, assuming it would say Daniel Romano and Marcus Romano. It said Marcus Romano. My name wasn't on it at all. I stared at that paper for a full minute, trying to make sense of it.
Then I walked out to the dining room where my dad was having coffee. "Dad, why is only Marcus's name on the ownership papers?" He looked uncomfortable. "We talked about this, Danny." "No, we didn't. You said you were passing it down to both of us." "I said you'd run it together. Marcus is handling the ownership, you're handling the kitchen. It's the same thing." "It's not the same thing at all. I've been here for 8 years. I built this place. Why isn't my name on anything?" He set down his coffee cup. "Because Marcus is better with legal stuff, business structure. It just made more sense to put it in his name." "Made sense to who? Did you even ask me?" "Danny, you're still part of this. You're the chef. That's your role." "My role? Dad, I don't have a role. I have a job, and apparently I don't even own it." He looked at me with this pained expression, like I was being difficult, like I was the problem. You're overthinking this. You and Marcus are going to run it together. It doesn't matter whose name is on the paper. But it did matter. It mattered a lot. Because a month later, everything fell apart. It started with a staff meeting. Marcus called it, not me, him. He stood at the front of the dining room with all the servers, cooks, and dishwashers sitting at tables, and he laid out his vision. We're making some changes, he said. We need to streamline operations, be more efficient. Starting next month, we're cutting back on menu items and adjusting staffing. I was standing in the back, arms crossed, trying to stay calm. What menu items? I asked. Marcus glanced at me. We'll go over it later. No, I want to know now. What are you cutting? He sighed, like I was a child interrupting the adults. We're cutting about 40% of the menu. Too many options. It's slowing down the kitchen. The kitchen is fine. I've told you this a dozen times. Danny, we've been over this. No, you've been over it. You decided this without asking me. Because I own the restaurant now. I make the decisions. The room went silent. Everyone was staring. I felt my face go hot. You own it because Dad handed it to you. I'm the one who built it. And you'll still be here as head chef, but I'm the owner, and what I say goes. I walked out. I couldn't stay in that room. If I stayed, I was going to say something I'd regret. I went home, didn't answer my phone, and spent the rest of the night staring at my ceiling. The next morning, Marcus called. We need to talk. Yeah, we do. Come by the restaurant, before open. I drove over, walked in, and found Marcus sitting in the office. He had papers spread out on the desk. Sit down, he said. I stayed standing. He sighed. Look, I get that you're upset, but you need to understand this is business. Dad wanted me to take over because I know how to run a business. You're a great chef, Danny. No one's saying you're not, but you're not a businessman. I've been running this place for 8 years. You've been cooking. That's different. I've been doing everything. Inventory, scheduling, vendor contracts, menu planning, marketing. What exactly have you done besides show up and take credit? His jaw tightened. I've been keeping this place profitable. I've been making the decisions that you're too emotional to make. Emotional? Yeah, you're too attached. You can't see the bigger picture. I laughed. It came out bitter. The bigger picture. You mean the picture where you own everything and I'm just a help? He leaned back in his chair. You know what your problem is, Danny? You think because you work hard, you deserve ownership. But that's not how it works. Dad gave me this place because he trusts me to run it, not you. I stared at him, my own brother, and I realized something. He didn't see me as family. He saw me as an employee. So what happens now? I asked quietly. Now you go back to the kitchen, do your job, and stop making this about your ego. And if I don't? He met my eyes. Then maybe this isn't the right place for you anymore. I walked out without another word. For the next 3 weeks, I kept working. I didn't know what else to do. I needed the money, I needed the routine, and somewhere deep down, I still thought maybe my dad would fix this. Maybe he'd see what Marcus was doing and step in. He didn't. Instead, Marcus started making bigger changes. He hired a consulting chef to modernize the menu, a guy from culinary school who'd never worked in a real kitchen. Marcus paid him $80,000 a year. I'd been working there for 8 years without a salary. The new chef started changing my recipes, simplifying them, making them worse. Customers noticed. Reviews started slipping. Regulars stopped coming as often. I tried to talk to Marcus. He brushed me off. We're evolving, he said. You need to let go of the old way of doing things. The old way? My way? The way that built this place? Then one morning, Marcus called me into the office again. I knew before I even walked in. Danny, this isn't working. I just looked at him. You've been difficult, resistant to changes, undermining me in front of staff. I can't have that. I've been trying to save this place from you. See, that's the attitude I'm talking about. You don't respect my authority. Your authority? Marcus, I created this restaurant. Every dish, every menu, every single thing that made people want to come here was because of me. And I'm grateful for that, but it's time for you to move on. You're firing me. I'm letting you go. There's a difference. No, there isn't. He slid an envelope across the desk. 2 weeks severance. That's more than generous considering you were never on salary. I picked up the envelope, stared at it, then at him. You know what the worst part is? I said quietly. I actually thought we were doing this together. I thought family meant something to you. Family does mean something to me. That's why I'm giving you severance. I laughed. It hurt. You stole everything I built, and you're acting like you're doing me a favor. I didn't steal anything. Dad gave me this place, legally. If you have a problem with that, take it up with him. I did. I drove straight to my dad's house. He was in the garage, working on his car. Dad, Marcus just fired me. He wiped his hands on a rag. I heard. You heard? That's it? That's all you're gonna say? Danny, I told you to work with him. I tried. He's ruining everything I built. You didn't build it alone. I started this place. You just helped. The words hit like a punch. I just helped? You know what I mean. No, I don't. Tell me what you mean. He sighed, looking older than I'd ever seen him. You're a good cook, Danny, but Marcus is better with business stuff. This was always gonna end with him running things. That was the plan. Your plan, not mine. You're my son, both of you are, but Marcus is better suited for this. I'm sorry you can't see that. I stood there, staring at the man who raised me, and I didn't recognize him. I'm not your son, I said quietly. I'm your employee. That's all I ever was to you. I left before he could respond. I spent the next 2 weeks in my apartment. I didn't shower, didn't eat, didn't answer calls. I just sat on my couch, staring at the wall, trying to figure out where I went wrong. I gave 8 years to that place, 8 years of my life, and in one conversation, it was just gone. I didn't have savings. I'd been working for free, remember? I had maybe $4,000 in my checking account. Rent was due in a week. I started applying for jobs, line cook positions at other restaurants, prep cook, dishwasher, anything. But I couldn't do it. Every time I'd fill out an application, I'd think about Marcus sitting in my office, running my kitchen, serving my food under his name, and I'd close the laptop. I wasn't going to work for someone else, not after this. If I was going to cook, it was going to be mine, completely mine. That's when I decided. I was going to open my own restaurant. It sounds insane, right? No money, no investors, no business plan, just anger and spite and a deep gnawing need to prove that I was the reason Romano's ever mattered. But I'd spent 8 years watching my dad and Marcus fumble through business decisions. I knew what not to do, and more importantly, I knew exactly what I was capable of when no one was holding me back. I started small. I called my buddy Alex, who I'd worked with back at Romano's. He'd quit a few months earlier because he couldn't stand Marcus either. I'm opening my own place, I told him. Are you serious? Dead serious. Alex, you have no money. I know, but I have recipes, I have experience, and I have a massive chip on my shoulder. That gotta count for something. He laughed, and he said, okay, I'm in. Next, I called a few other people, former dishwashers, servers, even the weekend hostess who'd been at Romano's since the beginning. I told them what happened. I told them my plan. Most of them said yes, not because they believed I'd succeed, but because they hated Marcus too. We started pooling resources. I had $4,000. Alex had $2,000. A line cook named Jenna had $1,500. Between all of us, we scraped together about $15,000. Not enough to lease a space, renovate, buy equipment, and cover the first few months of operating costs. Not even close. But it was something. I spent weeks researching small business loans, crowdfunding, anything that might help. I got rejected from 6 banks. My credit wasn't great. I had no collateral.
And I had no proven track record as a business owner. Technically, Marcus owned Romano's, not me. So on paper, I'd never run anything. I was about to give up when I got a call from a guy named Tony. He owned the pizzeria 2 blocks from Romano's. I'd met him a few times over the years. Nice guy. Always said my food was better than his. Hey, Danny, I heard what happened. You got screwed. Yeah, pretty much. I also heard you're trying to start your own place. Trying being the key word. I don't have the money. What if I helped? I paused. What do you mean? I mean, I got a spot. It's small, used to be a sandwich shop, but it's been sitting empty for 6 months. If you want it, I'll rent it to you cheap. And I know some suppliers who give you credit. I'll vouch for you. Tony, why would you do that? Because I like you, and because I really don't like your brother. I met Tony the next day. The space was tiny, maybe 800 square feet, barely enough room for a kitchen and 10 tables. But it had a working hood system, a functional oven, and most importantly, it was directly across the street from Romano's. I stared out the window at the restaurant I used to run, my restaurant, and I smiled for the first time in weeks. I'll take it, I said. Getting the space was one thing. Making it functional was another. We spent the next month renovating. I called in every favor I had. Friends helped paint. Alex's brother did electrical work for free. We bought used equipment from a restaurant supply liquidation sale. The whole time, I kept thinking about Romano's, about Marcus sitting in that office, probably thinking he'd won, probably telling people how he had to fire me because I couldn't handle the new direction. I wanted to prove him wrong,
not just by succeeding, but by crushing him. I finalized the menu. It was small, 8 entrees, 3 appetizers, 4 desserts, but every single dish was something I had perfected over the years. The short ribs, the carbonara, the lava cake. I didn't copy them exactly. I improved them, made them better than they'd ever been at Romano's. I named the place Ember. Simple, clean, nothing like Romano's. We set an opening date, November 10th, 2023, exactly 1 month after I'd been fired. I didn't advertise, didn't post on social media. I just printed 200 flyers and personally delivered them to every single person I knew had been a regular at Romano's. The flyer said, Chef Daniel Romano invites you to the opening of Ember. Same recipes you love, better execution, across the street. I slipped them under windshield wipers in Romano's parking lot at night. I mailed them to customers whose addresses I'd memorized from years of delivery orders. I handed them out at the farmer's market where I used to buy produce. And on November 10th, we opened. I expected maybe 20 people. We got 60. The line went out the door, every table full. Customers I'd cooked for years walked in, saw me in the kitchen, and smiled. One older woman, a regular named Helen, hugged me when I came out to check on tables. "I'm so glad you're doing this," she said. "Romano's hasn't been the same since you left. We stopped going." That was the first time I realized it wasn't just about me. People noticed. They cared. The food mattered. By the end of the night, we'd done $4,000 in sales, in one night, in a 10-table restaurant. Alex looked at me, covered in sweat and grinning, and said, "We might actually pull this off." The next morning, Marcus called me. I didn't answer. He left a voicemail. "Danny, what the hell do you think you're doing? You can't just open a restaurant across the street and steal our customers. We need to talk. Call me back." I deleted it. He called again that afternoon, then again the next day. Then my dad called. I answered that one. "Danny, you need to stop this." "Stop what?" "You know what. You're trying to compete with Romano's. It's petty." "I'm not trying to compete, Dad. I'm just cooking. Same thing I've always done." "You're using the same recipes. That's not fair." "Not fair? You gave Marcus everything I built. Don't talk to me about fair. Those recipes belong to Romano's." "No, Dad. Those recipes belong to me. I created them. Marcus never touched the stove. He doesn't even know how to make them." "You're being spiteful." "I'm being smart. There's a difference." He hung up. That night, Romano's was half empty. I could see it from Ember's window. The irony wasn't lost on me. For years, I'd watched that dining room fill up because of my food. Now, it was emptying because I was gone. And Marcus was watching it happen in real time. By December, Ember was thriving. We'd built a steady base of regulars. We were getting great reviews online. People were driving from neighboring towns just to try us. Romano's, on the other hand, was struggling. I heard from former staff that the new chef couldn't keep up. He didn't know the recipes. He couldn't handle the volume. Customers were complaining. Marcus posted on Facebook trying to do damage control. "Romano's is evolving. We're exploring new flavors and techniques. Change is good. Come see what we're building." The comments were brutal. "We like the old menu better." "Where's Danny? He made the best food." "Went to Ember last week. It's what Romano's used to be." Marcus deleted the post. Then he tried a different approach. He sent a cease and desist letter to Ember, claiming I was using proprietary recipes. My lawyer, a buddy from high school who owed me a favor, laughed when he read it. They can't prove ownership of a recipe unless it's patented or trademarked, and even then, it's nearly impossible to enforce. Tell your brother to pound sand. I framed the letter and hung it in the kitchen. By January 2024, Romano's had cut their hours. They were only open 5 days a week now instead of 7. Staff was quitting, and the new chef, he walked out mid-shift after Marcus yelled at him for undercooking a steak. I heard all this through the grapevine. Former Romano staff who'd come to eat at Ember and told me everything. And I won't lie, it felt good. Not because I wanted them to fail, but because for the first time, Marcus was experiencing consequences. Real consequences. Not just hurt feelings or wounded pride. Actual loss. In December, my dad showed up at Ember. I was in the kitchen when one of the servers told me, "Your dad's here. He wants to talk." I wiped my hands, took off my apron, and walked out to the dining room. He was sitting at a corner table, looking older and smaller than I remembered. "Hey, Dad." "Danny, can I sit?" "You're already sitting." He tried to smile. It didn't reach his eyes. "Place looks good." "Thanks." He looked around, taking in the full tables, the happy customers, the energy. "You've done well." I didn't respond. "Romano's is struggling," he said finally. "I'm sure you've heard." I've heard. He's in over his head. The new chef quit, customers aren't coming back, we're barely breaking even. Sounds rough. He looked at me. We need help, Danny. And there it was, the real reason he came. No. Just hear me out. No, Dad, I'm not helping. You fired me. You gave everything to Marcus. You told me I was just the help, so I left, and now I have my own place. That's how this works. This isn't about taking sides. This is about family. Family? You picked Marcus over me. You watched him take credit for years and you said nothing. You signed over the restaurant to him and left me with nothing. You don't get to play the family card now. His face crumpled. I made a mistake, okay? I thought Marcus could handle it. I thought he'd be fair, but he wasn't. And now the restaurant your grandfather started is going to die because I was too stubborn to see what was happening. That's not my problem. Danny, please, just come back. We'll make it right. We'll put your name on the ownership. Equal partners, you and Marcus. I laughed. It came out cold. You think I'd ever work with Marcus again after what he did?
No, Dad, I'm done. I spent 8 years building that place for free. 8 years of being told I was just a cook, that I didn't understand business, that Marcus was better suited to lead. Well, look where that got you. He stared down at his hands. What do you want me to say? I don't want you to say anything. I wanted you to see me. 8 years ago, I wanted you to value what I did. But you didn't. You valued Marcus because he had a degree and wore a suit, and now you're paying for it. So that's it? You're just gonna let it fail? I'm not letting anything happen. You and Marcus did this. I'm just cooking food across the street. He stood up slowly, like his legs couldn't quite hold him. I hope you're proud of yourself. I am, actually. For the first time in a long time, I'm proud. He left without another word. I went back to the kitchen, fired up a risotto, and didn't think about him again until much later that night. March came, then April. Ember kept growing. We expanded our hours, hired 2 more cooks, started a weekend brunch service. Romano's kept shrinking. They cut the menu down to 6 items, stopped serving lunch, started closing on Mondays and Tuesdays. I tried not to pay attention, but it was hard not to notice when you could literally see them from your front window. One evening in late April, Marcus came in. I was in the kitchen when I saw him walk through the door. My first instinct was to walk out the back, but I didn't. This was my place. He didn't get to make me hide. He sat down at the bar, ordered a beer, didn't look at the menu. I watched him through the kitchen window. He looked tired, worn down. His shirt was wrinkled. He needed a shave. After about 20 minutes, he stood up, left cash on the bar, and walked toward the kitchen door. I met him at the doorway. Danny. Marcus. He looked past me at the kitchen, the organized chaos, the clean stations, the staff working like a machine. Place looks good, he said. Yeah. He shifted his weight. Look, I know you don't want to hear this, but I'm sorry. For everything. I was an idiot. I thought I could do it myself. I thought I didn't need you. I was wrong. I just stared at him. Romano's is dying. Dad probably told you. We're gonna have to close by summer if things don't turn around. And I know that's my fault. I know I screwed up. Why are you telling me this? Because I wanted you to hear it from me. I'm sorry. I took everything you built and I destroyed it. And I don't know how to fix it. You can't. I know. We stood there in silence for a moment. For what it's worth, he said quietly, I finally get it. What you were doing all those years. How hard you worked. How much you cared. I didn't see it before. I thought I was better than you because I had the degree, the corporate job, the title. But you were the one holding everything together. And I'm sorry I couldn't see that until it was too late. I wanted to feel something. Vindication, maybe, or satisfaction. But I just felt empty. Thanks for saying that, I said, but it doesn't change anything. I know. He turned to leave, then stopped. The short ribs, the ones you used to make, I've tried to recreate them. I can't get them right. What was the secret? I almost didn't answer. Then I said, time. You have to let them cook low and slow for 6 hours. Can't rush it. And you have to actually care about what you're making. That was always your problem, Marcus. You never cared. You just wanted the credit. He nodded slowly. Yeah, you're right. He left. I went back to the stove, finished plating a carbonara, and sent it out. Romano's closed in June 2024. They posted a sign on the door thanking customers for 16 years of support. They didn't mention me. They didn't mention what really happened. They just said they were pursuing new opportunities. My dad called me the day they shut down. It's over, he said. We sold the equipment, paid off the debts, nothing left.
I'm sorry, Dad. Are you? I thought about it. Yeah, I am. I'm sorry it had to end like this, but I'm not sorry I left. Neither am I, he said quietly. You deserved better. I should have seen that. Yeah, you should have. We didn't talk for a long time after that. Marcus moved out of state, got a job in sales again. We haven't spoken since that night in April. My dad comes into Ember sometimes. He sits at the bar, orders the short ribs, and doesn't say much. We have an unspoken understanding now. He knows what he did. I know he knows. That's enough. Ember's still thriving. We're coming up on our 1-year anniversary in November. We've been featured in 3 food magazines. We're booked solid most weekends. I hired a sous chef last month. I actually pay my staff now. Good wages, benefits, respect. Everything I should have gotten at Romano's. People ask me sometimes if I feel bad about what happened, if I regret opening across the street, if I think I went too far. And honestly, no, I don't. I didn't set out to destroy Romano's. I set out to build something that was mine, something where my name was on the deed, on the menu, on the reviews, something no one could take from me. If Romano's couldn't survive without me, that wasn't their fault, that was theirs. They had 8 years to see my value, 8 years to put my name on the paperwork, 8 years to treat me like I mattered. They chose not to, so I chose myself, and I'd make that choice again, every single time. Last week, I got a message on Instagram from a customer who used to come to Romano's every Friday. She said, "I'm so glad you opened Ember. Romano's was never about the name on the door. It was always about you. We followed the food, and the food followed you." That message is framed in my office now, right next to Marcus's cease and desist letter, because that's the truth people don't talk about enough. Family businesses aren't successful because of blood. They're successful because of work, because of care, because of the person who shows up every single day and makes something worth caring about. I was that person, and when they forgot that, I reminded them. I'm 28 years old. I own a restaurant. It's small, it's mine, and every plate that goes out that kitchen window is proof that I was right. I didn't need them. They needed me, and now they know it.